a real honor for me to be here and to see local people. It's the topic of social media and its connection. I don't know anything about social media, but I do know a little bit about Zen. And I think it's important in that sense because who is the one that's using social media? This is the point. And you have to find some way in your life, in this fleeting life, where we can understand where all these thoughts are coming from. If we don't understand that, or have some insight to that, these thoughts will plague your mind and make you, actually, it ends up making a lot of suffering. That's really not necessary. So, the word or the calligraphy, the ideogram for Zen is to reveal the universe. But I mean, when we use the word universe, that is huge. It's infinite. There's no beginning, there's no end. But that universe is what you are born with. That's your, you could say, your basic goodness. It's a world that you have been estranged from through conditioning, culture, tradition. But that basic goodness, actually, when Buddha was, his proclamation was that you are a Buddha, believe it or not. So there's a basic goodness within yourself, or the universe within yourself, that contains all these thoughts. And so we think of something like delusion and enlightenment. This is duality. And we think that enlightenment is better than delusion. In fact, we've been so conditioned, we think of many things in the same vein, but we don't know they're the same thing. So the investigation or the experiment with yourself in your life has to find out who am I? Who's using the social media? How are we being used by social media? And so this is, the practice of Zen it's long term. It's not entertainment. When we satisfy ourselves, our small mind, it's short term. It's self-centeredness. Things that will satisfy you, but actually will not last. Life is going by quickly. The grapes have been harvested on the mountain. There's an umbrella of stars right now. And we miss so many things by moving so quickly. And when we move quickly, it's a form of aggression. It's not like if Ajo was going to fall down the stairs, I would run over there and try to help him. It's not that, but at the pace we're moving and what we're absorbing is beyond us. So to assimilate all that stuff, or to also the same way, to let it like water on a duck's back, roll off. And to be able to turn off your thinking mind when necessary. I think like this, the thinking mind is thinking so much, it wants to be appeased. And of course we teach the Zen meditation on Sonoma Mountain. And mostly people, including myself, when I came to Zen, I was 25 years old, I wanted to make my mind calm. So that is a false premise. Your mind is already calm. It's just that you don't know it. I mean, no matter who you think you are, you've heard of people in crisis, and they can't be quiet or be peaceful in their lives. But when a crisis comes, they're the ones that come through. So it's beyond who we think we are. There's something very precious that we have to connect to. It's not your cell phone. It's this. Cell phone does not have wisdom. Cell phone technology does not have compassion. You know, we have to know what we're using, or we think we're using, but actually it's using us. And there are some people that are making a lot of money from us. So it's the same thing again. So for instance, here's an example. The mind of delusion and the mind of enlightenment. And this example came from Imperial China a long time ago. So what happened? In this certain village, there was a local official who would always visit the temple nearby. And there was the Zen master, Chan master in the temple. And he really enjoyed going and visiting the master, because every time he asked a question, the master would always answer him. And he would feel very warm, and they had tea together, and time passed quickly, and they really felt the richness of life. There were no cell phones then. In fact, there wasn't even a telephone, nor TV. But anyway, so he wanted to understand what his mind was. And the master once said, the delusion mind is the enlightenment mind. They are both the same thing, which each one of us here, and each one in the whole world possesses, but they don't know it. So he asked him a question about this mind, and the master just so it was more than being quiet. It's a presence that you have without thought. Is it possible? Without thought, but you're still alive, and you still think, but clearly. So he was a little bit annoyed the first time he asked. He asked again. He said, maybe the Chan master didn't hear what I said. So you've been in this experience. Then you ask again. Now you're getting a little bit angry. And then he asked 4 times. And the 4th time, the master turned around and said, see what happened to your mind? It turned into the angry mind. So this is very important. We have it. Everyone has it. And that very mind turned into the angry mind. So in meditation practice, we learn not to do anything. This is just completely opposite than what we were taught. We have to do everything, but actually we don't. Everything is done by not doing. But this takes training, and it takes concentration. When I was young, when we go into San Francisco, I would try to count how many stories there were, but I didn't get past 10 or 15 stories because my concentration wasn't good. You know, because with social media, TV, it's really every so many minutes there's an advertisement, right? So your concentration is broken. And all these things are going on subtly in all kinds of, in our lives. So I think the difference between Buddhas and Bodhisattvas with human beings is that human beings do not know the mind, nor do you know how to protect the mind. And a lot of the stuff you're thinking about is mostly useless. It's true. But it follows you like a shadow. We don't know how to turn it off. So this is training in sitting still. Like in the Japanese culture, there's a soup called miso soup. And it looks kind of not muddy, but not clear. But if you hold that bowl of soup still, something settles. That stuff, the miso settles at the bottom of the soup. And that's exactly what the practice of meditation is. But you have to hold yourself still. And there's physical pain, lots of physical pain, lots of mental pain, lots of distraction. But that's what you're working with. There's a place, a position, a posture that you can put the thinking mind into the posture. Just like when you take a hike, like for 16 miles, after that hike, you don't philosophize it, don't think that much, because the thinking mind is in the body. Yeah. You want to say something?
I think that the importance of meditation is actually, it's something very simple. In Soto Zen, we refer to actually sitting meditation as that just sitting. So usually we start out saying we're doing meditation, but when we go out to the beach and look at the sunset, and when we witness that sunset without the thinking mind, we're actually witnessing the beauty within ourselves, within the sunset, and actually within the whole universe. So the same with reconditioning the mind, what my father was talking about, recondition the mind to actually come back to this very moment 100,000 times. You have a thought and it comes up, or even you're sitting and you say, I'm doing meditation, and then, and that's okay. It's okay if you have these thoughts, but just know that these thoughts can actually return to this emptiness or this great vessel of this, you would say, this miso soup, and settle actually to the bottom. So it's extremely important about just sitting, just being with your friends, just being with your partner, just being at work. It's a whole different attitude and a way of being in which you would say it makes all life quite wonderful. And if we return to this deeper being of ourselves, and that's just actually who we are, just being with ourselves, not having to be driven by technology, but just to actually come back and stand up in the grocery store. Stand up in the grocery store and feel your feet deeply rooted in the ground. You know, so this deep being, a way of being, is quite amazing, and I know that everybody has experienced this in this room at one way or another. But just sitting, or zazen, coming back to your just sitting, is just being, actually helps you helps you start to cultivate this basic goodness in which each and every one of us was born with. So it's I think it's a lot to talk about, and actually something very simple to do, and we don't have to go very far away to look for it, but it's actually right here, and actually here, or you and me, is actually everywhere. So it's a quite wonderful and quite beautiful.
You know, I'm thinking like when in the springtime when Phil Jackson came here, he's called like the Zen master of the NBA. And I thought about that a long time, and how can one use Zen? This was my question. And actually, no one can use Zen, because your ego self, your small self, is trying to use something that cannot be used. So at the moment Kobe Bryant shoots the ball with about 10 people around him, he's not thinking. If he's thinking, he can't do it. But so there's no Zen, and there's also no thinking. This is not against thinking. Thinking is short, actually, and clear. But this is non-doing. No thinking, which produces non-doing. So the more we do, the more stress and the more difficulty and the more suffering we go through. What irritates me, or I feel sad, people do not walk anymore. They're walking with their cell phones. So that you've lost one of the time-honored activities, is walking. You're not there. In fact, you're not even over there. You're nowhere. You know, it's serious. It's really serious when you start thinking about it. That's really disturbing. And when they first came out, I would be in a grocery store and someone would be talking. I thought they'd be talking to me. So I'd open myself up and I realized they were talking on the cell phone again. But it was very disappointing. But you know, to connect, what does connection mean? Can you be satisfied? You know, as we grow older, we should be satisfied with our life. We shouldn't regret our life. Especially when you get older, we should not regret our life. All those mistakes we made were good. You know, we deserve those mistakes. That's part of not being perfect, but part of living. We make, the saying about a Zen master is because they make mistake after mistake after mistake. That's how you become a Zen master. But, you know, we should be satisfied with our life. Consumerism, we're not consumerism. We're human beings. We're people. We have flesh, we have blood, we have a heart. You know, when I go into Costco, I want to buy. They're successful. They got their message through. And then I'm aware of that. And then I just buy one thing and I walk out. And I'm satisfied. Because you don't really need that much. And those things that you need will not satisfy your inner request. The deep inner request that's there looking. It's asking you to look for me, and I'm here, nowhere else. Not over there, not trying to connect, but right here. And so that's a big wish for everyone to be satisfied with your life, and to find out who you are. Who's this person using these things or being, and if you don't, you are being used by it, you know? We were on vacation one time and there was a huge black yacht, probably bigger than this room, maybe 10 times. And this discussion with the people on board said, well, I want to know who owns that yacht. Maybe it's so-and-so, or maybe. And someone said, you know who owns it? The bank. But anyway, so physical pain, you know, all those things you try to avoid, you end up with because you're trying to avoid it. It's like a shadow. So you know, we should try to reflect on our lives. How long can you live? the short life that we have. How long? And you should try to pay attention to the most important things. Yourself. You're the most precious thing in the universe. And through knowing yourself, through some way of not isolation, but calming the mind, calming your situation, so the intrinsic you can reveal itself. It's just here. It's nowhere else. It's a very short time we have. Yeah. Maybe some questions, okay? Yeah.
How does one get started on all? Because I know you say that it's all inside, but how does one get started when we're so used to all of this noise?
Meditation is the best way. With people. But you should be prepared. It's the best thing you could ever do for yourself in this life, and for other people, and for the environment. It's the essence of everything. And with people, and it takes a long, look the long time vision.
It's a training. So I mean, you wouldn't ask a person. I wouldn't ask a person to. If someone told me to run a marathon, I couldn't do it. So you do it little by little. I mean, even right now, as we speak, this is it's a type of creating an intimate relationship with actually the world that you live in. Just right now is how you start and how we start. So how you talk to somebody, how you go home and go to bed. All those things that's actually how you start. But like what Roshi was saying, then meditation is a training, or zazen is a training in which will open up that field more and more. Just like a runner, the more you eat your cereal to run, you sleep to run, you hang out with people that run. It's the same with actually like-minded people, of being with people who are compassionate, who are using the same language and taking also the same journey.
Thank you very much.
You know, the mind that you ask with is the same mind I answer. It's the same mind. And, you know, meditation didn't just come from the East. I met a Polish adventurer and traveler, and he walked across Greenland. He also walked across the North Pole, and he also walked across the South Pole. Marek Kamiński. We just met him early this year. And what happened to him, he doesn't know anything about meditation, but he wanted to challenge himself. He walked, and he's in condition. He knows exactly how many milligrams of this. He's got it all set, technology all set. So as he was walking, he felt weaker and weaker and weaker. And he's by himself. He's solo. And then he was almost going to collapse. So what he decided to do, intuitively and spontaneously, he started counting. And that's exactly what we do in meditation. But he counted. I said, how did you count? He said, for every step I took, I counted. And I said, how far did you count? He said, I counted to 1,000. But it saved his life because it put him here. You know, all his energy came back. And even when I was young, maybe 8 or 9 years old, my job was to boil the water. It was a very hard job. Go in the kitchen, there's no heat in the house. And as I was standing there, I remember I used to count. And when I counted, the time went away. That's a form of meditation, actually. The time went away, and then all of a sudden, oh, it's ready. But so I'm saying it's universal. Meditation is universal. It's already here in America. It's everywhere. It's the universe. Okay? Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So I have an idea. What if people were to start by just doing a fast, like a Sabbath, honor the Sabbath, from sundown Friday night to sundown Saturday night? Just unplug. Just try a 24-hour period of not being plugged in.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a start, and it's, I mean, maybe not even 24 hours, just try it for 3 hours. And you'll feel the reaction, physically and mentally. And it'll be hard, but I think it's a good start. Because there will be times that you will be in situations, it'll be just like that. And is your cell phone gonna save your life? Or, I mean, it's information. That's all it is. It's not wisdom, it's not compassion. We should try to remember this.
I wanted to ask, is it easier for, say, someone from poverty to begin the path towards Zen than, say, somebody who was born into the relative wealth we have in the United States?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing, because both people suffer. And Thich Nhat Hanh used to say, we should try to look at our own suffering. But no, I don't suffer. But those material things cannot satisfy you, because you'll buy the next one. And that's the strategy. You buy the next one, and when you save up all your money to buy the next one, there'll be a next one. Don't you see how it goes, how it works?
And so that would also apply to somebody who has very little. If they're not aware of that, they'll constantly want more, as well as just as the person who has everything still wants more.
If the parents are wise enough to teach them how to be satisfied. You know.
Desire is inexhaustible,
Okay.
and it cannot be filled.
So regardless of background, I see. Thank you.
That's a chant we have.
Yeah.
How does it go?
Desire is inexhaustible. I vow
To
transform-
transcend them.
to
Yeah.
transcend them.
Okay.
Okay, I had to sum up some strength to come up here. Now, I've been thinking about how you said we should be happy with our mistakes, and, well, throughout my whole life, I've been putting myself down over some things I've done, and maybe if I meditate and clear my mind a bit, I could make peace with myself, or I know I'm sounding kind of silly, but starting even to feel bad about how I'm even, talking.
Yeah,
like
but
this.
it's good to come up, because I myself, when I first started to practice Zen with Suzuki Roshi, I did it every day for 10 years, but I didn't talk to anybody. That was a big mistake, to make that step. If your heart beats fast where you're sitting, come up and talk, because it's something. It's like a fruit. It's ripening, and if you don't pick it, it's finished. And the same with us. It's our life force that keeps us going. Our life force. So just to meditate, it depends on your quest. If you really have a quest, you really want to find out the answer, you go for it. Because it's the best thing in your entire life. Or maybe you had cancer.
Oh.
You go for it, because you know life and death.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. It's not a little bit, but for the rest of your life. It's like clearing your mind, returning, not reconditioning, but restoring or disentangling what has been conditioned on you, untangling it. So how many years have we been entangled and believing in it, and now you're untangling it.
Do you think there's any difference in the different types of meditation, or do you think the outcome is really the same because you're silencing your mind, you're going into your body?
Or at least the Buddha Dharma meditation, I think they're all the same, but it depends on the practitioner. Do you know how to meditate? It's more than you doing something. Do you hear the great silence? Are you beginning to understand the great mystery? Do you see the beauty where you are? No matter where you are, do you see the beauty? And to appreciate it. And even as much as when you see your daily life, the tears come out of your eyes, because it's so beautiful. But it's the same world, but an entirely different dimension depending on yourself. It's the same world.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to hear your thoughts about conflict. We've seen a lot of conflict in the government between different political parties. We're seeing conflict between unions and management with a BART strike.
Yeah, I've been seeing that a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah, lately. This is the political question. Huh? Well, you know, I'm a Democrat. Yeah. And I feel that the government, Congress and the Senate, they should help the American people. Help the people, not divide the people. That's the most important thing. What are these people doing in there? We have a dysfunctional government. It's really embarrassing, and it's really pitiful. We spent $24 billion when they shut down. Where's that money coming from? How are we going to pay it back? We lost $24 billion. And it's because of somebody's idea. See, that's where the meditation comes in. It's because of this person or these persons' idea that made the government shut down. But it's really the prime example of stupidity and ignorance. You know, the three worst things is, the three evils is, well, ignorance, what we all ignore. Aggression. What's the other?
Anger, and ignorance.
And greed. See, those are and they've been here. They're endless. They have no beginning, no end. Also, and so does enlightenment have no beginning and no end. So we have to know how to work with this. I want. I'm not satisfied.
Hi, thank you for being here. And I'd like to get back to social media. And the thing about social media, I'm getting more involved with it, is it's about making money. And it is like this roller coaster. It's this aggressive rocket spinning through our world right now in order to make money.
If you make so much money, what are you going to do with all that money? You're going to die with it? But you could help the other people. Why couldn't you be generous that way and share it with the people in need? You know, you make money, share it, instead of just keeping it. That's all I'm thinking about. Like the 1%, like the movie actors and all those people. There are very few people help. The famous people really help people. They keep it with themselves. And they can afford it. But they don't. And why is that?
I get frustrated and just kind of negative when I see people everywhere on smartphones not engage in what's going on in their life. And how do I see that and feel positive when I see them doing things that I find very frustrating?
There's really nothing that you can do except actually be with what comes up within yourself. if you get angry, you can feel that anger come up, but give that anger or that frustration maybe a little bit of space. Right there, something has shifted towards how you're relating to your environment and also yourself. And that's actually a giant step towards creating a compassion, towards creating a connection with yourself, and also actually connection with other. You're talking about conflict. That's a quite different way of looking at it than saying, don't do that. But actually receiving actually yourself, the other person who's texting could be me, but receive that actually as being you, and then what would you do to actually create this compassion or more kindness to come into your life.
Actually, you could also say, oh, there's another Buddha using a cell phone. No problem.
Yes, please.
Do you have any thoughts or perspective on wise application and use of that technology?
Yeah, we have a cell phone, but we don't use it. We put it in the glove compartment in case the car doesn't work or something. I think it's the same with you. When you're at home, do you have that little impulse or urge to go in there? See, it's got you. You should know that impulse and say, I only work on it for 3 hours a day. And that's it. It's the same as buying one item in Costco, walking out happy. Because that that conditioning is got us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So speaking about using social media for good and conflict, thinking a lot about bullying, being mean to one another, especially in younger children where they're taking their own lives as a result.
The bullying, it's basically from greed, anger, and ignorance. Those are the three things that we all should look at. That's where it starts, because there's no need to bully. You're bullying another Buddha. You're bullying yourself. That's how we see it.
How would you advise someone to influence, especially younger people, to be able to, they're losing their social skills, they're not talking to each other, they're always with somebody somewhere else, not to me, in the present.
So, and these things that are introduced to us have no principle. There's no ethics or morality with it. So in that sense, I see that these cell phones, iPhones, pads, and these guys are wearing them on their ear. We have to stand up when they're going to inject that into the baby. That's where I see it going. Why not? Everyone will never be lost, and people will go for that. I mean, that little tablet will be inside you. This is what I see. They're getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So we should, by all means, stand up to that. There are no principles or ethics or morality in these things.
When you see the sun and you see its beauty and you acknowledge its beauty, how can you still be present with it without losing that moment after acknowledging it?
The moment will pass, and then there's a next moment. But everything that you do, if you're wholeheartedly doing it or there, then you're accepting it. It's like being with the universe with no thinking mind, but actually you are being, and not necessarily also reflecting on it, but then being actually living in your life as your life unfolds. I don't know.
So you're continually progressing with that moment and its beauty because you after perceiving it.
Yeah. When you witness actually the sunset, and at that very moment you are actually the universe itself. So there's no it's a deeper way of actually being with your life, and also all the things that come up in your life. Once you recognize that beauty, and once you actually say, that's the sunset, that's beautiful, then there's this dichotomy of you would say subject and object. And then that's separation, you would say. That's the subject and object separation, and then that's the suffering of not actually being disconnected from all things. The social media, we're trying to be connected with all things, but it's very empty that way, because it's an endless, we think we're being connected to somebody. We are actually being connected, but it depends on how you feel at that moment being connected. Like the sunset. When you have sunset mind, that's being connected to the entire universe. Someone could use text, or they could use cell phone and have that connection. So social media is not bad, but it's how also we use it, and it's also how we receive it. Just like the sunset, it's not that technology is bad, but it's actually the user. What Roshi keeps on talking about, it's actually the user, the person who is actually living your life. What is a better way that we can live our life than actually just appreciate actually what we're doing, and not get caught up in being driven to think we're being connected, but actually we're actually disconnected.
We should know that when we see a sunset, and it's very beautiful, that means that you are beauty. You are beautiful. The beauty has to be here, and therefore we can recognize it. If the beauty is not here, or the aggression is not here, then we can appreciate it. But we don't hold on to it, because we just received it. Every moment, every instant is passing. And we don't even say it was beautiful, but we feel it's like the mind and body transmission of beauty between the external world and the inner world. This is very important. When you see that beauty.
I see what you mean. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, looks like we did it, huh?
We did it, yes. Please do that
when we satisfy ourselves, our small mind, it's short term, it's self-centeredness, things that will satisfy you, but actually will not last. Life is going by quickly. The grapes have been harvested on the mountain. There's an umbrella of stars right now. And we miss so many things by moving so quickly. And when we move quickly, it's a form of aggression. It's not like if Ajo was going to fall down the stairs, I would run over there and try to help him. It's not that, but at the pace we're moving and what we're absorbing is beyond us. So to assimilate all that stuff, or to also the same way, to let it like water on a duck's back, roll off. And to be able to turn, if we don't understand that, or have some insight to that, these thoughts will plague your mind and make you, actually, it ends up making a lot of suffering. That's really not necessary. So, the word or the calligraphy, the ideogram for Zen is to reveal the universe. But I mean, when we use the word universe, that is huge. It's infinite. There's no beginning, there's no end. But that universe is what you are born with. That's your, you could say, your basic goodness. It's a world that you have been estranged from through conditioning, culture, tradition. But that basic goodness, actually, when Buddha was, his proclamation was that you are a Buddha, believe it or not. Turn off your thinking mind when necessary. I think like this, the thinking mind is thinking so much, it wants to be appeased. And of course, we teach the Zen meditation on Sonoma Mountain. And mostly people, including myself, when I came to Zen, I was 25 years old, I wanted to make my mind calm. So that is a false premise. Your mind is already calm. It's just that you don't know it. I mean, no matter who you think you are, you've heard of people in crisis, and they can't be quiet or be peaceful in their lives. But when a crisis comes, they're the ones that come through. So it's beyond who we think we are. There's something very precious that we have to connect to. So there's a basic goodness within yourself, or the universe within yourself, that contains all these thoughts. And so we think of something like delusion and enlightenment. This is duality. And we think that enlightenment is better than delusion. In fact, we've been so conditioned, we think of many things in the same vein, but we don't know they're the same thing. So the investigation or the experiment with yourself in your life has to find out who am I? Who's using the social media? How are we being used by social media? And so this is, the practice of Zen it's long term. It's not entertainment. It's a real honor for me to be here and to see local people. It's the topic of social media and its connection. I don't know anything about social media, but I do know a little bit about Zen. And I think it's important in that sense because who is the one that's using social media? This is the point. And you have to find some way in your life, in this fleeting life, where we can understand where all these thoughts are coming from.